Daf Yomi, Tractate Chullin, page 34b, top of the page, with the words Amar Rabbi Zeira. It's about 4 words into it. Amar Rabbi Zeira, Amar Rabbi Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar Rabbi Yanai. Ha'oichet shlishi shel Chullin, שנעשו על תרס הקוידש, נעשה גופו שני לקוידש, שני לקוידש. Rabbi Zeira says that Rabbi Asi says that, Rabbi Yochanan says that, Rabbi Yanai says, with regard to one who eats non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, and these items have become impure with third degree impurity, his body becomes impure with a second degree impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food. He renders sacrificial food with which he comes into contact impure with third degree impurity, and that food in turn disqualifies sacrificial food with which it comes into contact. In, Rabbi Zeira raised an objection to the statement of Rabbi Asi with the statement of Rabbi Yehoshua. One who eats food with third degree impurity assumes second degree impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food, but does not assume second degree impurity vis-a-vis truma. This is stated in the case of non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma. The Gemara infers, yes, one is able to prepare items on the level of purity of truma, but one is not able to prepare items on the level of purity of sacrificial food, as it is the latter case, and the non-sacred food does not become impure at all. Amar lei lo miboya kamal. Rabbi Asi said to Rabbi Zeira, that inference is incorrect, as Rabbi Yehoshua is speaking utilizing the style of it is not necessary. It is not necessary to say that in the case of non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food, which is stringent, they have the capacity of assuming third degree impurity. Rabbi Yehoshua teaches that non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma also have the capacity of assuming third degree impurity. The Gemara objects, but didn't Rabbi Yehoshua say to Rabbi Eliezer, according to the explanation, that Rabbi Bar Chana said, that Rabbi Yochanan said, I too stated this only with regard to non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma, indicating that he was not referring to non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food. The Gemara explains, Rabbi Bar Chana and Rabbi Asi are Amoraim, and disagree with regard to the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, and they disagree about whether the statement of Rabbi Yehoshua was stated specifically with regard to non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma, or whether it includes even those prepared on the level of purity of sacrificial food. Amar ula oichel shlishi shel chulin shina'asu al taras truma nifsal gufom lechol betruma. Ula says one who eats non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma and that are impure with third degree impurity, his body is disqualified from the right to partake of truma. Mai kamash pelon tanina shlishi sheni lakoidesh ben sheni letruma bechulin shenasol taras truma shenihu de lo have hashlishi have. The Gemara asks, what is Ula teaching us? We already learned in the Mishnah cited earlier in 33b from Tractate Taharot, one who eats food with third degree impurity assumes second degree impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food, but does not assume second degree impurity vis-a-vis truma. This is stated in the case of non-sacred food items that were prepared on the level of purity of truma. The Gemara infers it is second degree impurity that it is second degree impurity that he does not assume, but third degree impurity he assumes, and he is therefore disqualified from partaking of Truma. The Gemara answers, it was necessary for Ula to teach this halacha, as if it was learned from that Mishnah. I would say that vis-a-vis Truma, he assumes neither second degree nor third degree impurity, as there is no reason to deem the status of one who eats like that of the food that he ate, and perhaps it was only since Rabbi Yehoshua said that he assumes second degree impurity vis-a-vis sacrificial food, that he also said that he does not assume second degree impurity vis-a-vis Truma. Therefore, Ula teaches us that he assumes third degree impurity and is disqualified from partaking of Truma. Rav Hamnuna raised an objection to the statement of Ula from a Mishnah in Taharos 2:3. Non-sacred food that is impure with first degree impurity is impure and renders Truma impure, in the sense that this Truma disqualified other Truma with which it comes into contact. Non-sacred food that is impure with second degree impurity disqualifies Truma, but it does not render Truma impure, meaning that it renders the Truma itself impure, but not to the extent that the Truma can render other Truma impure. And food that is impure with third degree impurity may be eaten by a priest in a stew that is a mixture containing spices of Truma. And if you say that by partaking of food that is impure with third degree impurity, his body is disqualified from the right to partake of Truma, how do we feed him a matter that invalidates his body from the right to partake of Truma? According to this, when eating the stew that contains food that is impure with third degree impurity, he is disqualified from partaking of the spices of Truma, that the Mishnah permits him to add it to the stew. Ula said to him, leave the matter of stew that is a mixture containing spices of Truma. Leave the matter of stew that is a mixture containing spices of Truma. To be continued.